I need to be brutally honest with you about Marvel and their whole multiverse. Since Endgame, Marvel's been kinda struggling with what I like to call Marvel fatigue. And it's all thanks to their Multiverse saga. At the last Comic-Con, they were trying to fix this issue where you have to watch a ton of movies to keep up with the new movies, because now everything's super tangled up with each other. Now, Deadpool and Wolverine is the first movie dropping after Comic-Con, so the big question is, did it live up to the hype? And do I advise you to watch it, or is it just another trash from Marvel? But before we get into that, let me give you a quick rundown of the story. After Endgame, Marvel hit a bit of a snag known as Marvel fatigue. Basically, fans started feeling worn out from all the Marvel movies in the Multiverse saga. And this program started during the global pandemic. Marvel kicked off its Multiverse saga and started pushing out TV shows on Disney+. And here's the issue. Keeping up with the Marvel Cinematic Universe means you have to stay on top of a huge, ever-evolving storyline. It used to be pretty straightforward, but with all these new TV shows and movies dropping, it's just overwhelming. In 2021, we got 4 shows and 4 movies. In 2022, it was 3 shows and 3 movies. And in 2023, we saw 3 movies and 2 shows. That's 19 pieces of content in just 3 years. To put that in perspective, between 2011 and 2019, they released roughly the same amount. It's a lot of movies to watch, and it's making it tough to keep track of everything. This Comic-Con is their first big public panel since 2022, so they really need to shift gears from what we saw back then to a more solid lineup of films and content, kinda like how they did in their first decade. We've had a ton of confusing films lately, and it sounds like they're finally setting things straight. But from a strategic and management perspective, what really counts is how they present this new direction to the audience. They need to be crystal clear and build back that trust and communication that made Marvel's first 10 years so successful. This year, we're halfway through July, and this is the first Marvel project out so far. In the past few years, we've had a bunch of series and movies dropping every year, but this time it's just this film. It seems like the creators took that into account and made this movie accessible. And they're only dropping 1 movie this year to hit the reset button and avoid that whole oversaturation mess. Alright, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think is behind the dip in quality for Marvel movies lately? Is it that we're just getting older and aren't into these movies as much anymore? Or is Marvel more focused on cashing in and pushing their own agenda? So a lot of people now ask, do I need to watch the previous stuff of Deadpool and Wolverine? The short answer is, this movie seriously leans on your Marvel knowledge. And I'm talking about way more than just the MCU stuff that kicked off with Iron Man. We're diving into a film that mixes in Wolverine, who's been around since the days when Marvel movies weren't even a thing at Fox or elsewhere. The more you know about Marvel and its characters, the more you'll get out of this film. It's packed with nods to both movie history and real-world drama between production companies and distribution rights. So if you're up to speed with Marvel's superhero pop culture from the 90s to now, you're going to get even more enjoyment of the movie. So while you can definitely enjoy this movie on its own, having that background will make it way more fun. If you haven't caught up on the Marvel universe, just make sure you pay close attention from start to finish. There are a lot of past references, and you don't want to miss any of the key details. Honestly, Comic-Con wasn't so bad this year. With just 1 Marvel movie coming out, it's way better than having to juggle multiple films and catch up on all the previous ones to get what's going on. So yeah, Comic-Con wasn't that bad. The basic setup is that Wade Wilson has ditched his Deadpool gear and is now living a pretty normal life as a used car salesman, until a bunch of TVA agents show up and snatch him away. The TVA brings him before Paradox, who drops some serious news. Since Wolverine bit the dust at the end of Logan, Wade's timeline is slowly falling apart and is about to get erased. So Deadpool accepts the offer because everyone he cares about will get wiped out. Wade freaks out, and in classic Deadpool style, he decides to kidnap a Wolverine from another timeline to replace the one who died. Things go wrong fast, and both Deadpool and Wolverine end up in the void at the end of time and space. When Deadpool and Wolverine are on the big screen, it's pretty clear that Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds have really great chemistry. We've all seen their funny clips and their banter on social media, so now we're seeing the effects of that friendship, but in superhero gear that brings their comic book story to life. So first, let's talk about Deadpool's character in this movie. I saw exactly what I wanted to see: Deadpool totally roasting everything. Like literally everything. That's one of the main reasons why I was excited about this movie from start to finish. From the opening scene to the final credits, the movie was a non-stop joke fest. There are so many laugh-out-loud moments that'll have you cracking up, even if you haven't seen the previous Deadpool movie. Sure, some of the jokes might go over your head, but there are many jokes that you will absolutely get and laugh your head off at. Every joke gets funnier, and every scene just keeps getting better. Now for the second thing, I'm not sure if Disney planned this, but it's quite obvious that Deadpool is much tamer in this movie than he was in the first two movies. The previous Deadpool movies had their fair share of sexual jokes and intimate scenes, but this one, not so much. Other than a few cheeky lines, I didn't notice any major innuendo. It's pretty toned down, so if you were expecting the same level of raunchiness, you might be a little surprised. As for Wolverine's return, I'm kinda torn. On the story side of things, the way they brought him back is exactly groundbreaking. Honestly, if you think about it, you could probably come up with the same idea. But does this hurt Wolverine's overall legacy? Not at all. It doesn't take away from Logan's amazing ending or the journey we've had with Wolverine in the past. Plus, Hugh Jackman still nails the role, giving us a Wolverine who feels both familiar and refreshingly different. Guys, you may not know how difficult it is to create content, and since I don't do anything to make money, I focus all my energy on creating content about movies, cinema, and anime, about things I have a passion for. I want my life to revolve around these things, but money remains the problem. So if you like the video, that means a lot to me, but if you subscribe, that means I will be happy until the end of the day. Okay, let's talk about age rating. Right from the get-go, they make it super clear. Forget Disney. This is a Deadpool movie, and it's packed with blood and violence. But here's the thing, Disney played it smart. The blood and gore are definitely there, but it's more on the cartoonish side. So, while you'll see plenty of action and blood, it's not going to make you cringe like some of the more extreme stuff out there, like The Boys. Disney's influence definitely keeps things from going overboard. Deadpool's always been about that mix of humor and chaos, so the movie keeps it wild, but still fun, and not grotesquely brutal, with heaps of gore and limbs flying everywhere. So, after giving it a second watch, I gotta say my feelings haven't changed much from the first time around. It's definitely a hilarious movie, and a total blast to watch. The action scenes are solid, and the performances are still top-notch. But when you look at the whole movie, the individual parts seem cooler than the sum of its parts. I totally get why some folks are calling it their favorite MCU movie in years, but I also see where others might be let down and find it just okay. It's not me being on the fence or wishy-washy, it's just that I can see both sides of the argument. For me, the good stuff still outweighs the bad. Ryan Reynolds really nails his character and co-wrote a movie that's genuinely funny and has some heart. The creativity in the action scenes and overall design is what keeps this from being a total letdown. Even though the story structure might not be perfect, it's still saved by those standout moments. So my rate is 8 out of 10. Peace.